want to talk about this bike. And I know there's been a lot said about a bike that's been in production for a long time. And to be honest, I think this bike is going to go the way of the KLR pretty soon. I do not see this bike lasting through 2020. Hopefully, we'll see Honda put out a bike that can take its place. But I think, honestly, what's going to happen is Honda's going to pretend that the XR650L Rally is going to take this guy's place. And I just don't agree. I don't agree with that. But that's a whole nother video, whole other topic. So this bike, what is it good at? Some people are going to say everything. Some people are going to say nothing. My comment on it is that every time I get on this bike, and every time I do something, it surprises me. There's always a better way to ride this bike. I'm always learning. Granted, I've only been riding almost a year on the street, and before that was very, very limited off-road riding. But this bike has just been everything I've wanted so far. And like, would a KTM be nice? Yeah. Would a Beta be nice? Yeah. But those bikes are extremely expensive. In fact, they're twice the price of this one. And I've spent somewhere to the tune of $7,000. I bought this bike used. Overpaid. It blew up right as I got it, and then I rebuilt the motor. And it was pretty good. Everything went fine. So far it doesn't. I just finished chasing down all the oil leaks, and so far everything is running as it should. This bike has been extremely reliable. I've taken this places where there's cell signal, but that's about all there is. The roads are closed. There's dirt berms and stuff, so no one in a car is going to come and get you. It'd have to be one of those super tough firefighting vehicles, the woodland firefighting vehicles. That's the only way anyone would be able to find you. And I had no phone, no GPS. I just had a map. And I went out there on my own, and yeah, the bike leaked oil like a sieve at that point, but you carry a quart with you, and it takes care of you. You take care of the bike, it takes care of you. It's capable on the road, and it's capable off-road. And something I've learned from riding, and something I love to recite, is that it's 90% rider and only 10% bike. So if I was twice the rider I am, I could outdo a lot of people on dirt bikes with this thing. This is by no means a dirt bike. This would be a dirt bike as of 1989, maybe. But, back then, the cartridge forks, cartridge forks and monoshock was like a new thing in the late 80s. So those bikes like this were high tech. Unfortunately, it's not high tech anymore. This bike's been out since 1993. It's old. It's tired, and I believe Honda wants it to be retired. But they keep selling it. They keep selling parts. I'm sure they're making a ton of money on parts. This bike, the R&D has been paid for forever. Obviously, people are content with the flaws that it has, and really, it's just a good bike. I think the only main competitor to this, because the people who are going to be buying this are going to be cheapos like me, the main competitor to this bike is the DRZ400. The DR650 is a road bike, and the KLR is not being produced anymore. So the only one that really competes is the DRZ400. It's a really good supermoto, and it's much lighter than this bike off-road. And it can be hopped up quite a bit with a liquid-cooled engine and a little bit higher tolerances. It can be hopped up. This bike just takes technique. have to get used to it. So on the road, it keeps up with KTM's. The biggest thing is top speed. It doesn't have one. It's very slow. I very rarely go over 60 with it. I don't like the sound the engine makes. Rebuilding the engine myself put the fear of God in me, and I don't like it. But it's really good on the corners. You know, I stick my knee out, get way over the tank, and it does really good. You respect the bike, it'll respect you. You just gotta treat it right, get your weight up on the front tire, but it's pretty good on the road. And now, let's see it off the road. So you can see it has torque. It's my favorite thing about this bike. It has torque. Doesn't like high RPMs, doesn't like going slow. It's not a very good technical terrain bike. But it gets you there. It gets you there. And in Oregon, you can no longer plate dirt bikes, so your options are very limited. You basically have KTM, Husqvarna, Beta, all the really expensive ones. And now KTMs are made in India, so you have that to deal with. Some of the KTMs, but visor. This bike, I had my blinker on that whole time. This bike will get you there. It will do what the other bikes do. It just doesn't do it quite as good. And it does it a lot heavier. So, you can't be a lightweight. I'm a lightweight, and believe me, I've crashed. I've crashed off-road my fair share of times, and most of it's at slow speed because it's manageable. It's manageable at second gear or higher. But anything lower than that, and you're going to be in trouble for tough terrain. But last time I was up here, there was a lot more snow. It's heavy. It's heavy. Tires me out fast. But the fact that a bike this old can get me to a place like this in 20 minutes, no loading, no unloading, in and out of a truck, I think that's pretty good engineering. Yes, indeed. Pretty good engineering. And you see a view like this and you go, I can never see this in a car. And you could, obviously people have done it, but that wouldn't be a car that I'd want to drive very often on the street. And this bike does both. So, to compare it, this bike's alright on the street, it's alright off-road, it has its efficiencies, but let's compare it. A comparison bike I have handy in my mind is the RMZ 450. Now, why would I be comparing this old, outdated piece of machinery with an RMZ 450? The RMZ 450 is what my brother has, and it's a dirt bike. Totally just a dirt bike. To find one plated, you'll be paying as much as for the 650. Now, is it worth it? Well, it's lighter, it's more powerful, it's faster, it's got better suspension, but you're not going to get the longevity out of the engine, because the XR is fun to ride being so heavy. It's fun to ride at low RPM. It's fun to ride rather slow. The RMZ, it wants you to wheelie. It wants you to go fast. This is cool. For me, this XR650 gets me everywhere I want it. And it has an electric start button, which is invaluable. If it were fuel injected, kickstart would be awesome. It'd be fine with me, because at that point, you have a decompressor, which is automatic. You have a hot start, which is automatic. And this bike, nothing. None of those. If it's cold, it'll take some cranking. Which is why the XR650R is not the bike that I chose. On top of the fact, in Oregon, the DMV can just revoke your title whenever they want to, which is scary to me. But this bike so far, after a rebuild, has been everything I've wanted and more. It surprises me all the time. You just gotta ride it, man, and get used to it. I'm sure if I hopped on another bike, it'd be a different story.